What's up? Will Mosley here. I help millionaires make more millions. I help startups start right. And today I want to talk about KPIs, right? Key performance indicators. Um, I want to talk about how do you figure out what your KPIs are? Like how do you set the right ones? There's a million that you can set. How do you track them reliably? How do you figure out what benchmarks are for your industry? And I mean, I guess why they're so damn important. Okay, cool. So let's start at the beginning. What is a key performance indicator? A key performance indicator essentially signals like the health of your business, or a combination of numbers that tell us, and this doesn't have to be specifically just your business. This could be a combination of your life, whether you feel as though you're getting to the gym as much as you want to, whether you're doing well in your relationships, whether you're showing up for your kids. All these things can absolutely have KPIs. And so the thing with KPIs is if you have too few of them, they might not paint a really good picture of what your actual health is. And if you have way too many of them, let's call it 20, 30 of them, a lot of times you'll never track those metrics. And so therefore, you'll either have inconsistent data that's going to throw you off, or you just don't do it. You know you should do it, but you don't do it. Or maybe you're at the other end of the spectrum where you're like, I don't even have KPIs. Like, what do you mean KPIs? I'd like to kind of, for the people that don't have KPIs, we live in the best time now where you can actually get really, really good KPIs for any business, any industry, any part of your life. And it's literally at the tip of your fingertips. We're going to merge onto the highway and then we'll keep on going with this. So a lot of times, if you're unsure what performance metrics would do well for your business, a lot of people are just like, how much money am I making? That's the only one we got. An easy way for you to figure this out or do this or find the ones that really fit for you is to think about, what's my business? Okay, let's say that I'm a lawn care business. And you may say, in the fewest amount of steps, how can I absolutely destroy my business? Okay. And it seems weird to think about how can I destroy my business versus like, what are the ones I should be tracking? But one, much easier for us if we were to do this ourselves to figure out what are the things that are going to absolutely tank our business the quickest. But instead of us figuring this out, we have AI, our handy dandy trusted advisor as always, or we can go in and say, hey, listen, you give it a little heads up, because if you do this in an aggressive way, it may kind of give you a warning. It might be, hey, like, are you sure you want to blow up your business? Are you okay? Are you mentally good? Like, that's kind of I've done this before, because I also like do it for all the different things, whether it's my kids or whether it's my job, like all the things. I like to look at the inverse, and then I like to then swap it around. That way I know those are the ones that I want to track. So you can go in and say, in the fewest amount of steps, how can I absolutely destroy my business? And usually what will happen is saying something along the lines of, you never reach out to your customers or talk to your customers. You don't ever advertise. You stop advertising completely. You provide a shitty product. You know what I mean? It'll kind of suss out what the things are specific to your business. And then what you can then do, right, is to say, okay, I actually want to inverse these. So because like the big thing is always focus. It's always focus, always limited resources. What do I actually focus on? And KPIs allow you to get that picture. It allows you to say, I'm only going to focus on these things, and everything else is just null, because I know that these things are the things that are going to push my business forward. If we establish that these are the things that if I do not do them, my business will absolutely fail. And if we flip that, if I consistently do that, my business will continue to stay in business and keep on growing and building, then why would we do anything else? So with that, we flip that around. Instead of saying never advertise, we always advertise. Instead of never reaching out to our customers, consistently following up with our customers. If it's good, never cut lawns or do a poor job cutting lawns, we want to make sure that the quality of our lawns are always exceptional, right? And so what you then do is you say, those are the three out of the 10, to keep things simple. Those are the 3 KPIs that I really want to track. Am I like pretty much ad spend, follow up to customer, like follow up health to customers, and quality of service. And what you can do with AI is say, hey, listen, can you give me the benchmarks for my industry? Or if you're like, for me to be, or you can even say, for me to be a leading whatever in my industry, what are the benchmarks I need to be hitting or I should be hitting? What looks healthy? What's a good, because a lot of times we don't even know it's healthy. Sometimes we're actually doing a great job, but we feel as though we're doing a shit job and don't realize that we're actually, the metrics are actually really good. So it can do that. And it cannot just do that for 3, it can do it for like 10 things. You know what I mean? It can, whatever it is that you're wanting to track, it could do that. And if you don't know what it is, you can say, hey, AI, what would be the top 10 KPIs that you would recommend for my business at this stage? And then there you go. And what you then do is now you have those what you should track. Now the question is how do I then set up a dashboard to keep track of all this? And that is where Notion comes in. Notion is this exceptional project management tool that I use every single day for almost everything that I do. I use it to track I use it as a CRM. I use it to track my projects. I use it to communicate with my team, whether it's for outreach and the DMs and the messages that we need to send out, whether it's for content creation, where I go into, let's say, let's say I have a conversation with one of my clients, and then after that, I then go into AI and kind of memo like what I talked about, what was the summary of that meeting, and then from there, I can then say, hey, write out or create 100 blog post titles based on this interaction or based on this week's interactions, and it can do that. And then from there, I can then create, let's say, 100 tweets per blog post with ChatGPT, and then I put those 100 tweets into that blog post in Notion. And then from there, I can then tell my executive assistant, say, hey, listen, I need you to schedule out 100 of these posts for the day over the next 100 days. So there's one per day, and you do that day after day after day. And then what she does is she can just check done in Notion. So that's just a little bit of what Notion could do. But Notion also does an exceptional job at allowing you to kind of create databases. And I know that sounds like a crazy word. It's not to get too fancy with it. But it allows you to create databases so that you can kind of keep track of your daily or weekly KPIs. I'd recommend just weekly. I'd recommend saying, listen, you're trying to keep track of the data maybe daily, but weekly is when you go over the KPI and say, okay, where am I at? Am I red? Am I yellow? Am I green? And what happens is this, right? Let's say that you have 10 KPIs. Let's say that 5 of them are green, 3 of those are yellow, and 2 of those are red. Instead of you saying, I'm going to focus on all these KPIs, essentially what you can do is you can screenshot the whole KPI dashboard that you set up, right? That shows the metrics and shows what the target's supposed to be and what the actual is supposed to be. And then you can put that into AI right next to, I always keep the chat just right next to the what I'm doing, and say, hey, listen, one, what metric would you focus on if you only had, let's say, 4 hours, if you only had today, if you only had XYZ, what metric would you focus on? Or regardless of the time limit, what's the biggest one that's going to give me the biggest unlock that'll unlock all the other ones that I should focus on? And it'll tell you. And then from there, it says, listen, you're not spending anything on advertising. I see this is red. It shows that you spent $10 this week or whatever. The simplest, quickest, highest leverage thing that you could do is maybe instead of spending $10, let's spend $100. Get that back up. Remember the target that we talked about as far as AI. It says, remember the target that we talked about. We said that we were gonna be doing at least $70 in ad spend per week, and I show that you're only spending $10. I need you to get that up there. I need you to make that happen, okay? And then that might be an easy fix, but the next one might be like maybe one that's red is like it shows that you have a lot of projects incomplete or whatever, the lawn care thing or whatever. They're not like that's going to be your biggest thing for churn, et cetera, et cetera. So here goes ways that I would recommend over the next week to do that. So your KPIs allows you to have that big overhead health that you can then see immediately what the fuck is going on, like what is wrong with the business. And again, it could be any KPIs. Okay, I have I have 5 specific KPIs for business. I have I believe 2 KPIs. Yes, yeah, 5 KPIs for business, 2 KPIs for my content engine that this is right here, 2 KPIs for like family, kids, stuff like that. And then I have 1 KPI kind of more for like personal health, fun, enjoyment, stuff like that. And again, you don't have to mix these all up, but I like to have, I only want to have 10 numbers. If I have the best life, right? 10 big numbers for me to track, and I can see, oh shit, 7 out of 10 of these are red or something like that. Like I'm doing a shit job. Like, bro, that's the reality. Not doing a great job. So you got to, it'll give you that juice, that energy for you to focus on. Guess what? Looking at my KPI dashboard, I'm supposed to have 3 workouts for the week. I haven't done any of them. It's Friday. Guess where we're heading? We're heading to the motherfucking gym. We're about to get this shit done. Get 1 out of those 3 in. And it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I can get that done. Get that health up to green. And again, these can be anything. You can change them at any time. It's kind of like you're thinking about what is the highest leverage KPIs that I can have that will get me to the level, get me to where I want to be, and make sure that I'm doing what I need to do. Also, again, another KPI that I wasn't hitting was content. Content was not, I had a lot of content that in the backlog, or not in the backlog, but just in the archive that could be used, but fresh new content for me, not really happening. So that's what we're getting on that shit. We got to make that happen. I hope this makes sense. I hope this really helped you with understanding why KPIs are important, how you can actually make KPIs for yourself using ChatGPT, or even if just you want to just you yourself, you can do this too by using like the inverse law. And then 3, like if this sounds interesting, amazing, and you need help like setting up your dashboard or figuring it out or like strategizing like on your business constraint, I'm all down to do it. Let's absolutely make it happen. We can do this at Switch Yards, downtown Asheville, or if you're not in the Asheville area, we can do it via Zoom. Okay, so I want you to go over to link description below, click on the booking link. Let's book it out. Let's make it happen this Saturday. All right, take care, guys. Peace.